Hello and welcome to Rock Paper Shotgun. This is Matthew speaking. Today we're playing some Space Hulk Tactics. I captured this about a week ago. I was going to put it up online, but watching back over it, I thought I'd probably talk through what we're actually seeing so it all makes perfect sense. A couple of things to flag up. This was captured on PC, but with a controller, because the mouse keyboard controls weren't quite there yet. Also, there's a little -3 on the screen, which is a glitch. Sorry about that, we couldn't get rid of it. Right now, we're just putting together our squad for a skirmish map. These are Blood Angels. Basically, the key thing to look out for is I've given this assault guy some big claws, and I have given the heavy weapon bearer a big chain gun, which gives him Overwatch, which is going to be very important in the match to come, as you'll see. Yeah, let's launch into it. So the aim of this map is to place a bomb on a marked location and then escape from the ship in 20 turns, under 20 turns. All the while, Genestealers are going to be swamping me. Now, right from the off, I place my assault character here on the left to block this left-hand door. Full disclosure, I did have a couple of goes at this map, messed it up, so I have some sort of prior knowledge of it. What's really key to this game, I discovered, is basically holding down all the corridors so the Genestealers can't just swarm you, and also getting to the objectives really quickly, again so the Genestealers can't generate the kind of the numbers that they generate between turns. I've got my sergeant at the front with a big hammer. I've got an apothecary behind him. Now he traditionally gives some sort of health bonuses to the characters he's adjacent to. But I don't really use that much here. Then we've got Librarian right at the back. He's really important to how I'm going to play this level, but I'll talk you through it in a second. Every character has 4 action points. I should point out, you're going to hear something that sounds a bit like a dentist drill, but it's not actually Genestealers having some work done. But I think it's the drill on the apothecary's arm. There's also a first-person mode, which I've just jumped into here. I'm not actually going to play in that, because I found it quite jarring as it jumped from first-person back up to this map view, so I play everything from top down, so apologies if you wanted to see more first-person. But anyway, back to the 4 action points. You're quite limited in what you can do. You can open doors, as I've done here with the assault class. I'm opening that door there so I can see down the corridor, because when the Genestealers spawn, they spawn as these kind of blips, and you don't really know what they are until you get a line of sight on them. Sometimes they can be false blips, you'll see that in a sec. But for now, I'm basically moving the rest of the team up towards the objective, while the assault class holds this corridor on the left, because that's what got me last time. They all basically swarmed from behind and killed me. So much of this game is about locking down territory with Overwatch, or just having that line of sight, nice long corridor lines where you can shoot down. So what we have here is this new card system, which is they've added to the kind of traditional rules. These cards are activated with card points, which is the number in the top left. That lets you kind of trigger the value which is on the card, but you can also convert these cards into further action points, which is the number in the top right, so that 4. So at this early point in the game, you don't have a lot of card points, but you do want to be making fast moves and getting across the map as quickly as possible. So I actually start converting cards quite early into action points, just so I've got a bit more movement, because otherwise we're all stuck behind this sergeant in this corridor. There's not really a lot going on there. Some cards are super valuable in terms of the actual thing that they can do for you, so we don't convert those. You want to sit on the valuable ones. But yeah, so right now I am switching to the cards. I think I'm about to convert one. So I've just converted a card, so I've got 4 more action points, which means I can get the sergeant up in this door. That's very much going to be his job. He's got this big hammer. As a sort of melee strong character, he's going to be holding down that door. It also means I can begin moving people up towards the bomb, which is on the east side of the map. I've got a little trick for that, which I'll explain in the next turn, which involves the librarian and the apothecary working together. But for now, I'm really just trying to get everyone into position to hold down the various corridors. I want my heavy arms bearer chap here, so he can basically shoot down to the west, keep everyone locked down. In this game, even turning on the spot costs action points, so like where you're aligned at the end of a turn is quite important. And here come the Genestealers. So until you actually meet them, they're a bit of an ambiguous force. They spawn on these points. They spawn as these sort of ambiguous blips. You don't know if they're real or not. When they are in your line of sight or they move into it, that's when they make themselves known. So we now know what we're dealing with down here. This guy's job is really boring. Is to basically stand here and claw things to death as they run at him down this endless corridor. So here I'm moving my heavy arms bearer into the corridor position where he can begin to watch over and look down that corridor. He's actually going to run out of points, so we'll have to generate some in a bit. What I'm doing here is using the card Target the Head, which gives a kind of +1 melee to any character for the duration of the skirmish. I'm actually going to give it to my assault class down here, as his job is to hold these guys off. I just want to give him the best chance of just holding back that flow of Genestealers into the map. Now I'm moving the apothecary and the librarian towards the bomb, which is that blue marker on the right hand side of the screen. The librarian is incredibly useful for map control, as you'll see in the next turn. He can basically shut down certain squares using his psi powers, so we need to get him into position for that. For now, though, there's a lot of holding in this game. Maybe not the most sort of cinematic, action-packed experience to watch, but it really is better safe than sorry when the Genestealers are about. With this guy, obviously, he's now got that +1 melee. I'm just going to start hammering at the people. Nice juicy kills. Gotta love those big electric Wolverine claws. But otherwise, I'm just going to put him in guard. Like, nothing gets through him. He's basically a cork in that corridor, so don't expect too much exciting stuff for him from the duration of the game. So here I thought I would convert this card into some action points, because I just need to get people a little further. I also want to get my heavy arms bearer into Overwatch, so I'm going to move him down a little bit more. There he is, those green. So that corridor is now blocked off. You'll see at the top those green targeting reticules. Anything enters into that, they're in trouble. Here they come. The old Genestealers. It would be slightly more dramatic if it didn't have a -3 on screen, so apologies again for that. Now, what's quite weird about the Genestealers, at least in this build, is they seem very aware of where you've got Overwatch laid down and will always avoid it, so it's quite a good way of shepherding them around. Whether or not that's intentional or they'll do that in the final game, I don't know, but they do seem aware of where Overwatch is, which basically forces them into this room up here, which proves to be very handy for me. Now, my whole strategy for this first half of the level where we're trying to get the bomb involves this cross junction here. What you can see here is I'm sending the apothecary up towards the bomb. His job is going to be to hold that, but he's obviously quite exposed, because as he walks down the corridor, he's got his back to this cross junction, which means anything coming up behind him is going to get him. But what the librarian has is all these awesome psi powers, including this one, Force Barrier, which basically lets him block any single square, which here obviously shuts down this entire junction. So that's that square locked down. Now, basically, the apothecary is free to do what he wants. So, with the librarian keeping that locked up there, he's fine. Let's see the sergeant's mega hammer in action. Brunch. Yeah, so what I have now is basically the sergeant's keeping everyone from above, the assault guy's keeping everyone from the bottom, my good old heavy weapon bearer is keeping this corridor locked down. What I'm actually going to do, though, is shoot at this door, because I want to see what that blip is. If I open the door, I'll get a line of sight, and then we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. And the blip was fake, you see, not all blips are real, so you may be building your strategy around a false idea, but now we have that corridor basically locked down with him, we have that crossroads locked down, no one can get to me, and even if I just held this position like this, the apothecary is now basically free to go and plant the bomb in subsequent turns. I really have this shut down. It feels kind of like what the aim of the level is to find a very suitably guarded position. And as always in these earlier turns, really good to convert some of the cards even into action points. Here, I thought, well, this card gives me 4 action points, but I've not got the card points to actually activate it, so it's probably better to convert it into 3, get everyone a little closer to their goals. The faster you can do things, the less time you're in the level, the less time there is for things to go horribly, horribly wrong. It's always juicy. This guy doesn't have a very exciting job, but it's definitely the juiciest one in terms of he gets to kill lots of Genestealers. So I guess he gets a lot of stories to tell his friends when he's back home. Do they have a home? I'm not that clued into Warhammer 40,000 lore, so apologies in advance for that. Yeah, the Genestealers trying to get me, but they just can't really do much. You know, as much as they like to jump out of these vents, I really have got everything locked down, which must be quite frustrating for them. One of the benefits of having died at this level a few times already. I know all their tricks. Again, the basic strategy until I've planted that bomb, just to hold these positions, keep dropping down this force barrier, keep everything locked down, give this guy the time he needs to go and interact with this blue square, which places the bomb. I should point out about the map actually, there's some little thing to note. This was a map built in the map creation system, which is like a very simple system, lots of big interlocking parts. It is a level set inside an Imperial derelict, which is like one of 3 textures. So this has got, and the sort of vibe of this has got lots of doors and interactive parts to kind of lock down and kind of change the movement of the level. Alternatively, you can reskin things to be an Eldar ship, and the gimmick there is it's got lots of like warps and teleportation, which kind of changes the flow of the level. And finally, there's also an Orc texture, and when you use the Orc level building blicks, you have exploding red barrels, which the other 2 texture types don't have. So, you know, there are some variations based on what style of ship you go for. Once you've built the map, you can basically flip through the textures and it will reskin it all and add different interactive elements, which is quite neat. So we've started this turn, you probably just heard he said mission accomplished. That means he's planted the bomb. Now we have to get everyone to the exit point, which is in the top left corner of the level. This is slightly trickier because I obviously need to move everyone. Everyone's currently locked down in a kind of standoff with the Genestealers, so you really need to kind of work out a way to get everyone through it, maybe whittle away at the forces so they're not all coming up behind us. We just really want to shut it down. So the first key is to get my apothecary out of this bomb area. And also what to do here, I decide not to lock down this corridor, which was maybe a mistake, because as I move upwards, I actually find out what these 2 red blips are, and it's, well, you'll see. Oh, you see, there was a surprise Genestealer, and now he's in the middle where I wanted to put my force barrier, which means I actually have to engage. I did think about playing with some of his other stuff, so there's one of his other sort of powers is called Psychic Storm, which allows you to basically have a chance at killing Genestealers on the squares it marked. It does zonk out a fair amount of your psi points though, which I'm trying to save because just in case I need to use the force barrier again. So instead, what I thought I'd do was use a card to give the librarian a melee boost and see if that would work. So I'm just trying to boost his odds of actually taking down this guy. 50% win odds seem pretty decent. Result. With him out the way, I'm free to start gradually edging towards the exit again. When in doubt, force barrier. Now, the only problem with my amazing plan of holding everyone back is that I haven't really got an exit strategy for my assault guy down at the bottom, so spoiler alert, don't get too attached to him. As seems to be the general here, slow and steady kind of wins the day. So what I'm doing now with my heavy weapons bearer is to gradually move him forwards, then put him in overwatch, basically drive away any enemies that may think about coming down to tackle him. He's good at long range, not so great at up close. Yeah, thankfully my sergeant really doing the business in this doorway, so I actually wipe out a lot of the Genestealers, which makes the general route out of the level much easier. I thought I might move him up, just so we get a little idea of what we're actually playing with in this room. There they are. They may cause us trouble in the next round. And God bless you, Assault Guy. You are the most valuable player for sure. I just love that there's this endless queue of Genestealers coming out of the walls. Yeah, there's another one. Out he comes. Just take it, lining up to take a pop. You'd think they'd look at all the bodies and go, maybe this isn't strategically smart. Like, this hasn't worked out for all of our friends. Let's back down on this one. But that's just not the Genestealer way. So what I'm going to start doing here to move the apothecary across the level is to turn on auto shoot, which is where they walk and then they get a free shot if there's an enemy in the direction they're walking towards. So that's what I've just switched it on. It's not always on because you may want a bit more nuanced control, but as he's walking here, he fires automatically at that guy down the corridor. Now this is quite useful, this walk and shoot, because you only have to walk one square and then you get that free shot. So you can basically edge towards an enemy, taking pot shots at them. In this case, though, I've already used some of his action points. So in order to give him a better shot and more energy, we decide to convert a few more cards again. Yeah, some of these are really good if they're kind of tapped into earlier. Others, you know, do we really need these? So we've converted that. I walk him forward a step, and that wipes out the Genestealer. What we've done down here is I'm going to turn on the auto shoot on the librarian as well, and basically start edging him through the corridors, taking these shots as he goes. This really does go my way, actually. I have quite a fluky run in this next bit in terms of shots working out. So we shoot this guy on this square. Nice. Good work. This librarian is really quite amazing in terms of everything he does. I mean, that psychic barrier, the force barrier really did the business for me, and now he just wipes out, and he's basically just sort of like, I don't know, like this total badass striding through the ship, taking things down with headshots. He's basically the John Wick of Blood Angels. And that's most of the enemies dead for the moment, which makes life a lot easier. So we've got this blip here. We want to see if it's actually real or not. So it's time for the heavy weapons bearer to start making his trip towards the exit. As always, turning at the end adds another action point. So it's 2 action points to get to the square, a further action point to turn. Which kind of makes sense when you see how heavy and chunky these armors are. It was a Genestealer. He looks ever so smug having popped out of that vent, but he's going to regret it. Sorted. So what this has actually left us with is basically a clear path to the exit. There's only one spawn point behind us, which is that spawn point down at the bottom, which is currently being held by the assault class, so as long as he doesn't die, nothing can come up behind, which basically means we just have to win all of the attacks going forwards if we encounter anything. It's a really good position to be in, and as you'll see, it's kind of pretty smooth sailing to the end here. The really hard part, I think, was securing the level to begin with, because if you don't convert those extraction points, you just don't make the progress. The Genestealers get down into these corridors. They're a lot harder to hold from that point on. You know, the risk here is obviously that as you push towards the exit, you are exposed at your back. They can come around from the top, from where the apothecary's just come from. I kind of luck out in that there's not a lot of spawns. Or they're all spawning down here where they just can't get through. Yeah, I mean, the level's pretty clear, so we just carry on stomping to victory. I think, if I remember correctly, I start converting more cards into action points, again, just to speed up the process. I only have to get 3 of them across the finish line. So it's just a case of pushing them up, keeping them gathered together. Job's a good one, really. And while they're doing this, I should probably explain, this is obviously only an example of a kind of the sort of self-contained skirmish mode. There is a massive campaign for both the Terminators and the Genestealers. You can play as both. The Genestealers slightly different in terms of, like, they're more about overpowering, and they have this card system, but the cards can be used for their, you know, buffs and abilities, or they can be converted into new spawns. So you can just generate extra numbers from there. So while the Terminators are all about gathering extra action points, the Genestealers are just about building their numbers, really, really overpowering them. Well, we haven't actually been able to play as the Genestealers yet, so you know, I'm quite intrigued to see, like, how they change the sort of the kind of pace and rhythm of the battle. The campaign itself looks really great. You're basically going through these giant space hulks. There's like a map of branching paths, and there's kind of a tactical element to, you know, you're working your way through these paths. If you encounter enemies, it then switches to self-contained skirmish maps where you have to beat them. But there's all kinds of strategic stuff about which path you take, and going down one path to kind of gather more resources or unlock other elements elsewhere on the map. It looked really smart, but it's quite hard to explain without you seeing it. So when we get the final build of the game, we'll be sure to show you that. And he's made it. He zaps out. Onwards. Yeah, it's a bit of a pushover now. I'd kind of hoped it would go a bit more wrong and there'd be a bit more action in these final steps, but at least you get to see what a kind of complete round looks like with the victories. If I'd shown you my earlier battles, well, I literally died in like 3 turns in both of them, so it wasn't until I got my head around that kind of initial rush that I began to do some damage. Also, giving this guy claws really helped, because he had quite a bad melee weapon beforehand and he wasn't very good at holding that door. I also lucked out with some of the card draws. Him having that extra melee point of damage really helps against all his rolls with them. Yeah, made it look a doddle. Which is kind of what you want, I guess, from elite space warriors. You know, they should make it look easy. They're meant to be the best of the best. Yeah, there's a little last-ditch attempt here by Genestealers to spawn. They spawn at the top of the map and they make a dash for the exit point, but by this point I've already got 2 people out of the level. I only have to get 1 across the finish line. So, good try, boys. See you in hell. Bye. And that was a complete skirmish of Space Hulk Tactics. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I explained it all fully. If you do have any questions about what you've just seen, do let us know in the comments and I will try and answer them. I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. We've got lots more stuff like this. We cover everything PC gaming. And we'd love to have you join the channel and hopefully see you soon. Bye for now.